If the clock is right, it's time to start. So, welcome everyone to the Committee of Adjustment meeting. The committee will hear applications today for minor variances and consents. We'll call each application by name and number and ask anyone wishing to speak regarding an application to indicate it at that time. We'll get your name for the secretary to record, and we'll give you the opportunity to speak. After today's decisions, there's a 20-day waiting period before that decision is final in order to allow time for appeals. And the only other thing, the applicant and the agent will automatically be notified in writing. If you're not the applicant or agent and you want to be notified in writing regarding the decision, sign the clipboard at the back of the room with the proper information and you'll be notified that way. The other thing is remember to push the button before we speak so we can hear you, and smile for the cameras. Are there any disclosures of interest on committee by any committee members? None. So I have a motion here by Eric and seconded by Dennis, and resolved the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held Wednesday, July 20th, 2018 be adopted as circulated. Are there any errors or omissions? Those in favor of the motion? That's carried. Is July 20th the right day? Yeah. Or was it the 18th? I think. Okay, so our first application today is AN 130, Execulink Telecom, Inc. Is there anyone here to wish to speak to this application? You are Jeff? Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak? No one? Okay. We'll give the planner will give his report or her report.
The applicant is requesting relief from the zoning bylaw provisions for a severed lot proposed to be used for telecommunications infrastructure of 1,001 square meters from the minimum lot area of 1,390 square meters in the open space zone to allow for a lot area of 389 square meters. The applicant is also requesting a relief of 19.13 meters from the minimum lot frontage of 30 meters to allow for a frontage of 10.87 meters. The subject lands are located on the south side of George Street in Port Dover and are zoned open space. The lands are currently vacant, with the surrounding land uses are residential and community institutional. The proposed telecommunications infrastructure is a permitted use in all zones. After the time of the report was written, public input was received from an abutting property owner, and the email was distributed to all committee members. The application is considered minor in nature, consistent with the PPS, conforms to the official plan, and maintains the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Planning staff support this application and recommend it be approved.
Okay, thank you. You're just coming in. Which application are you for? Okay, that's the one we're dealing with now, and I thought maybe you were. So, no problem. We just heard from the planner over here. Oh. So just to bring you up to date, the meeting started at 5, and that was the first thing. So we just started it. We just heard from the planner that they want to, that they are supporting the application, recommend it be approved. Jeff is here from Execulink, and we have your letter, I believe, from, you're the neighbors? Okay, so if at this time you want to, one of you would like to come up to the microphone and tell us what you're thinking, you're more than welcome to. Okay, let me figure it out here. Is it Kimberly Ross?
It said power there. Is it working? Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so first I had a bit of confusion when I was communicating back and forth, and it was kind of cleared up. It's because the zoning sign had the wrong stuff on it. So that was my first issue. But this cleared it up. My biggest issue is on that entire lot, the area that's proposed to being built on is the only green spot on the lot. That's my biggest thing. It's visually, it's nice. I sit on my porch, there's a big tree out the back, along with my trees. The grass is nice. There's a whole other area of gravel to pour a concrete pad on and put a structure. So, unfortunately, that's my biggest issue. And I don't know what type of structure it is, and if it's going to be, because it's going 9 feet from my fence, which is 6 feet from my bedroom window.
That's your window's close to your fence then, isn't it? Those are good questions. I don't know if we can answer the structural questions. The bylaws allow for a utility service to be built anywhere, and they've chosen this place. So we got a couple of people here that will answer those questions for you. And
Okay.
if you want to have a seat,
Absolutely. Do you want me to shut this
we'll
back
give
off?
you the opportunity to speak one more time if you like at that time. Jeff, if you might, so you're here, what kind of structure, like visually, is it going to be?
Visually, it's a concrete prefab structure that we get brought in, and then we do pour a concrete pad for it to sit on. Pardon me? No, it's actually it's so when it arrives, it has a stone look to it, like kind of like a mortar, like not brick, but the stone pebble look to it. But this particular one, we're going to actually be strapping it with and putting a nice siding all the way around it to visually make it look nice. And we also do landscaping around it as well. Now, because we are up into the corner that was the proposed location just so that it wasn't plopped in the middle of the entire size of the lot. But on the parking lot side, I guess, we'd be doing shrubs and bushes. We have actually one just... Well, yeah, we would be landscaping around the pad to visually make it look nice in the neighborhood. The idea is to have it look nice so it's not an eyesore as you're driving down the street. No, so the only thing, so there will be eventually a generator installed at the rear, but they're the enclosed, very quiet. The decibel readings on them are very low. And of course, that would only run when the power is out in town or in that specific area. And other than that, there's just an air conditioning unit that would be on there that would run when required. So not any different than a residential air conditioner type thing. Other than that, it'd be just a quiet little building.
I'm sure I have anybody that wants a building that you put the bedroom. This is my issue. I got, in my, has it been tested for case takers? Has it gone cancer permission? What kind of stuff is going in?
Just electronics, just computer type equipment.
Excuse me. The conversation has to go through me.
I'm sorry.
From, oh. Okay, the other question was, why'd you pick that spot? Or was that a county decision? Because they only,
Yeah, so-
I assume it's because there's no parking there at this point.
Well, we had approached Norfolk County to see if they could assist us in some property that they may be looking to, that we're able to sever off for it. And then that was one of the proposals that came back to us.
Okay. Yes, Dennis?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask about the landscape, and I'm glad that's being done. But I do have a question in terms of the location. Is it in reality that close to the neighbor? Like 9, 10 feet? I'm talking about the structure.
Well, so there's a chain link fence there, and then, so the lot line would be the chain link fence.
Okay.
And then, of course, whatever the normal building bylaws are for how close you can get to that fence is basically what we would be doing.
Who has a planner?
Through the chair, the side yard setback is 3 meters from the property line. The applicant is proposing a 3-meter setback, so there is no relief being requested for that portion.
So the building will be 3 meters from the lot line, and then whatever their setback on their property is from the fence. You add those two together, that's how far from the window it is.
Correct.
Yes.
I guess just further to that, is there any flexibility in terms of the location of this structure, or is that pretty much fixed?
Well, it was basically determined because of the huge portion of it and because of the gravel area. I'm not sure if the gravel area is used as a parking lot for the arena already or whatever, but
Okay.
it was, the idea was to take a piece of that property that wasn't really being used for anything at the moment, which it is grass for the most part right now.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, any other questions? Oh, Marcel?
I don't think I really got a clear answer. Did he say that was the only spot, or can you move it a few feet? I didn't really.
So it was, so if, it could be moved, but it would just require a bigger lot, like more frontage. If the frontage was expanded from, almost 11 meters to, 13 or 14 meters, then sure, we could shift it over.
However, momentarily, Clark is here from the county. What is your thoughts on the location, if you don't mind me asking you?
All I really can tell you is that the property was part of a search of properties in Port Dover to facilitate the infrastructure that's needed for telecommunications. And the property sale was negotiated with council's input. And council basically approved the sale of the land subject to variances and severances and all that type of thing. So
Okay.
the nature of the council report is confidential. So.
Okay, fair. Thank you for that information. They're looking for a place to build, essential service. The county has a piece of property they want to sell. So that's where we met here. You want to buy a piece of property, the county wants to sell a piece of property. They don't want to, the only reason they're here is for a minor variance because they're trying to save land, not take any more parking out of the arena than is necessary. So they want to create a smaller lot than usual, and that's why they're here, asking to create a smaller lot. As far as the building goes, what they're building is legal, and the zoning is right. Everything's right about that. It's just they want a smaller lot, and that's what we're dealing with. And also, they have their concerns of, if there's anything dangerous about this building, what will happen in this building?
There will just be the telecommunication equipment installed there to service the entire town of Port Dover
For internet and.
for
phone.
internet, telephone, and TV services.
Okay, thank you. This lady in the back, I had asked earlier if anybody wanted to speak. I'll make an exception if you give me your name.
Jamie Murphy is my name.
Okay. And you,
As well. Can I just ask, will there be trucks or vehicles coming onto the building, and how frequently will that happen?
So our service technicians would be accessing that building.
Will that be daily, or just if there's a
Well, in the beginning, it would probably be quite frequent as we add customers, but eventually, after, time goes on, after a couple, 3 years, it's for us to build out the entire town of Port Dover. We're looking at a 2-year project, and then post the 2 years, there's all the installations that keep happening. So there'll be a service vehicle that would be in there quite frequently during the business hours, sometimes during the evening if there's night maintenance that we need to do after hours. But for the most part, it would be during business hours that you'll see our service trucks going in and out of there.
No, but does that act as a hub, like with all the, like a main line come to the building and then every other service, or every other line come out of that building?
Yes, exactly.
Are you going to give a presentation today at all?
On the services? No.
Not on the surface, just on the site or anything at all?
No, it was just all included in the application.
Okay. Okay, and then I'll give you one last opportunity before we,
The fact that it's so close to the proximity of my house, that's fine. It's an issue that's taking up green space. I don't believe it's been tested done on what that building emits, sounds, the compressor running, the generator running. There's also the fact that I approached this panel when I bought this house, and none of this needed to be taking place because I own that piece of property.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I approached this council
Oh,
for a separate supply of this property.
oh,
The exact property that we're talking about is matching my yard. And they refused because this wouldn't be happening because that other building.
thank you for that information. I will explain at this point what we are dealing with here as from our committee perspective, and some of these things that happen are way outside our purview, but we're dealing with a customer, or an application to create a smaller than normal lot in order to put up a utility building for a executive. And the zoning is correct, and so the use is correct. Everything's correct about having that particular industry build a building there. It's just whether we want to allow them to build on a smaller than usual lot. And that's what we're dealing with. That's our application. So that's all we're dealing with. I hope that explains what our purpose in life here is to deal with that particular part of the application. So with that said, we'll close the discussion from the outside, and just simply the committee will make a decision at this point. Any comments?
Thank you.
Eric?
Given that they're not asking to place the building any closer to the lot line than what's permitted, I mean, they're putting it at that setback,